and welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It is May 18th, 2019. It's amazing that we're this far into 2019 already, that we're in the middle of May, nearing the end of May. Memorial Day's just around the corner. I heard a quote the other day. I don't know whose quote this is. I should have looked it up, but I heard a quote the other day, and it said, "The days are long and the years are short." And thinking about it, you know what? The days are long. How many times do all of us, we're coming home from work, we're like, man, this week's really dragging on. I can't wait for this week to be over. The days are long. There's a lot we do. There's a lot that our lives require of us to have the amenities, to have the privileges, to have the recreation that we also hold dear to ourselves. But the years are fast. They go by fast. My daughter, she's going to be a junior. It's like, wow, already that's coming up. She's finishing off her 10th grade year. We're almost halfway through the baseball season. The NBA playoffs are coming to a fast end with the way these series look like. The NHL playoffs, we already know who's one of the teams that's going to be in the Stanley Cup Finals. So it just goes to show you got to go out, you got to live life to the fullest, enjoy every day, have some fun, do some work, accomplish something, make yourself feel proud, and keep it moving. There's been a lot of stuff going around in the sports world, and since the last time I talked to you guys about a week ago, I picked out some stories that I thought, we'd talk about today. Of course, the NBA playoffs. We'll check in on the NHL playoffs. It seems like there might be some destiny involved in the NHL playoffs this year. We've now seen both teams in the NBA conference finals take 2-0 leads in their series. The draft lottery took place this week. There's been hirings and firings. Teams are becoming a joke. But I want to start with this topic, this idea, this nonsense, this complete BS that has been floating around the sports world this week. It's almost as if somebody has decided they want to make Joe Flacco look like a jerk. Now, if you want to point out that Joe Flacco's skill set has diminished over the years, if you want to point out that Joe Flacco, in my opinion, was not ever really that $100 million guy, if you want to point out that Joe Flacco has been the beneficiary of some great defenses and good running games, and that has helped him become the Super Bowl champion that he is, if you want to point things out like that, that's fine. If you want to point out that he loves passing to the tight ends and that he's given a lot of tight ends a lot of balls over the years, that's great. If you want to point out that Joe Flacco has a winning record in the playoffs, that Joe Flacco has went to so many years straight to the playoffs from his rookie year forward, that Joe Flacco has thrown for 4,000 yards in a season, great. Those are all things we can talk about. Those are all things we can debate. We can decide where he's at in the line of 32 starting quarterbacks. We can argue all kind of that stuff. But this BS this week of the idea that because Joe Flacco said he's not here to mentor the Broncos' rookie quarterback, Drew Lock, that they took in the second round out of Missouri this year, that somehow makes him a bad teammate, or that somehow makes him wrong, or that he somehow answered that question wrong, or is a jerk, or any of this other nonsense that's been floated around so that people can get views on TV, clicks on social media, is ridiculous. Now, if you want to go purely by the definition of mentor, if you want to say an experienced and trusted advisor, if you want to say he's an advisor, a guide, a confidant, a counselor, consultant, if you want to say he's there to advise or train, especially somebody who's a younger colleague, and go strictly by the definition of the word, then fine. We'll call people mentors in professional sports. But the fact of the matter is, there's no such thing as a mentor in professional sports. You are there to get paid. You are there to be a pro. You are there to observe, to learn, to adapt, to apply. You are there, if you are Drew Lock, to see how Joe Flacco's going about his business? How is he preparing? Is he putting in the extra reps? What's going on in the film room? You're there to talk to your position coach, your offensive coordinator. You're there to ask questions. You're there to learn. You're there to hone your craft. It is not Joe Flacco's job to go over to Drew Lock and say, hey, Drew, let's go throw some passes. Let's look at the film room. They're going to be in the film room together. They're going to be in the film room with the coach. It is not Joe Flacco's job to be a mentor. And the idea that you're asking that question of this man once again after what happened to him in Baltimore last year, becoming a healthy scratch for the first time in his career as they transition to their next quarterback into the next evolution of the Baltimore Ravens post-Ozzie Newsome, and then to have him come in this year, have the Broncos draft another quarterback, and then be bombarded with this idea, are you going to train him? Are you going to teach him? Are you going to be his mentor? No, I'm here to win games. I'm here to be the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. I'm not here to be the quarterback coach. I'm not here to be the rookie whisperer. Now, does that mean on the other side that Joe Flacco is not going to be a good teammate? No. Joe Flacco is a good teammate. We saw how he handled the transition with Lamar Jackson. He did not make any problems for that team. He did not cause any fuss for that team. He did not speak out against that team. But he is not the coach. He is not the advisor. He is not the mentor. He's the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He is there to be a player. He is there to be a pro. He's not there to be friends. Sometimes these guys become friends, but that is not what they're there for. Does that mean you can't then still be a good person? When you see the kid, screwing up, go, man, what were you seeing there? What were you looking at? That stuff is going to happen, but the idea that he's going to pull this guy aside and do extra teaching and be an extra mentor type person is ridiculous. It should not have gotten blown out of proportion the way it was. The people that want to say that he was a bad teammate, LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Famer, he had his opinion, but he's wrong. That doesn't make him a bad teammate. He didn't come out and say, screw the kid, he can learn it on his own. He said, this is what I'm here to do. That is not my job. Meaning I'm not going out of my way to take time away from what I have to do to be the starter of this team, to win games for this team, to get this pro up to speed. That is his job. He didn't say I'm not going to answer questions. He didn't say I'm going to shun the guy. Get off of Joe Flacco's back. He was a good teammate. He is a good teammate. He's the better option for the Denver Broncos this year. They gave up on Case Keenum. They let it be known they gave up on Case Keenum. So had they been stuck with him for this season, it would have been a complete disaster. There was not a rookie in this quarterback class outside of maybe Kyler Murray, very maybe Kyler Murray, that was going to be a viable starting option for this year. So you get a guy in the second round who you can bring in. He doesn't have the pressure of being able to start or having to start from the fans, the fanatics who want everything to be Madden-esque, perfect scenario. Their team only is successful and dominant, doesn't have to work, doesn't have to have things break their way. The unrealistic view of football is what causes that. You have to build a team. You have to have those players sometimes that get reps because they didn't get the right reps in college. They haven't had the right coaching. It is now Drew Lock's job to ask questions. It is Drew Lock's job to watch film. It is Drew Lock's job to be out on the practice field extra and get reps. It is his job to pay attention to what the starters do. Not only to see what they are successful at, but to go, you know what? He was not successful at that. I'm not going to use that in my game moving forward. Be a pro. Mentors in professional sports, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You have mentors in high school sports. You have mentors in pee-wee sports. You have mentors maybe who follow you through into collegiate athletics, but very rarely there. It is on the athlete to do it. on the athlete. Just like it's on the athlete to learn his craft, to apply their craft, to get better at their craft, to ask questions, to get with their position coach, to get reps. It's your ownership's job to put a good product out on the court or out on the field. It is your ownership's job to provide the best quality people, to provide the best quality team. And right now, what the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, the mighty Lakers, the historic Los Angeles Lakers are doing, what their ownership is doing, what the people running that team are doing, is embarrassing. They're not only the worst basketball team in LA now, worst run, worst product on the floor, and that's with LeBron James. They're probably the worst run and most embarrassing team in the state of California. Pick a sport. LA Galaxy, San Jose Sharks, LA Kings, the Clippers, San Francisco Giants, the Sacramento Kings, the San Diego Padres, the LA Chargers, the LA Rams. Pick a freaking team, and the Lakers are the worst, most embarrassing product in the state of California. And that is embarrassing for the NBA. That is embarrassing. It should be embarrassing for everybody in the Buss family. Jeannie Buss should have been scrambling to make the right decisions and get strong basketball people in that building. She should have been able to sit back, make decisions for the team, and then let those people run the team because that's what she hired them to do. It was a failed experiment with Magic Johnson, thinking that his celebrity was going to make everything work. And now you've got this idea that somehow Linda Rambis, who, yes, she's worked with the Lakers and around the Lakers for years. Yes, she's friends with Jeannie Buss. Yes, her husband played for the Lakers in the 80s and Kurt Rambis. Yes, he coached for the team. But somehow she has more influence on this team right now than anything else that's going on. I didn't like the hire of Palenka as the GM. An agent, a guy with no experience. Yes, he works with teams, but he's never run a team. He's never put together a roster. He's never dealt with the budgets in that form. So now this week they go out and they are not going to hire a president of basketball operations. So you will have non-basketball people once again, Linda Rambis, Jeannie Buss, whoever else the brain trust is right now, making all of the decisions for this team. You hire a bench coach to be your head coach, and Frank Volick. You have LeBron James, which, hey, maybe you're going to trade him. There's rumors you wanted to trade him during the season. There's speculation and talk now that you might trade him, that Linda Rambis doesn't want him. She doesn't want a player to have that much control. Well, they have effectively killed Dr. Buss's legacy. They have effectively embarrassed that man from beyond the grave, ruining everything the Lakers have stood for in the NBA for decades. And they have torn it apart in a season, in a couple seasons. Embarrassing, pathetic. If I'm LeBron, I'm asking to get out. Be like, you guys need to get younger. You need to go with the youth movement. I shouldn't have signed here for all this money. You guys didn't want to make it happen. Let's go ahead and get me out of here. Or let's stop the BS. Let's put together a team and let's go win some championships and let's make Dr. Buss's name and his legacy what it should be. Because this nonsense that's going on with the LA Lakers right now, it is unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Worst team in California. And they're not the only owners that are making these stupid mistakes over and over and over again. There's the New York Jets. In fact, there's most of the teams in the state of New York. The Mets, bad. Knicks, bad. Jets, bad. Giants, not doing real good. Bad. Dave Gettleman does not look good. But the Jets fire their GM. Christopher Johnson and their vice president of player personnel, Christopher Johnson, the owner, fired Mike McGagan and the vice president of player personnel, Brian Heimendinger. Okay, these are guys that got to break the team down, build the team back up. Field Yates, he put it real simply, recapped it real smooth. The Jets' plan, recapped over the last several months. Let Mike McCagan run free agency period in which they spent $191.2 million on Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley, Jamison Crowder, and Henry Anderson. Okay? So spent a lot of money in free agency. Let him run the draft in which they had the number 3rd pick. They wanted to trade the 3rd pick. They didn't get enough in an offer to trade the 3rd pick, so they went ahead and drafted Quentin Williams. Then, 3 weeks after the draft, go ahead and fire him and the player personnel guy. Adam Gase then takes over as the interim right now. He has all the power as the Jets. He's the only coach in the NFL who has that title. Apparently, he didn't like Le'Veon Bell signing. He doesn't like spending that much on a running back. Some people say that'll be good because now he's got no choice but to use him. And his offense and the way they run it in that wide zone scheme is perfect for Le'Veon Bell. And you're going to expect to see him getting his 20, 25 touches a game. And if not, then it's going to, probably become a situation. So he didn't like that signing. He doesn't think the Mosley signing was very good, Adam Gase, is being reported. And then within hours of taking over as the interim GM, he trades away a starting linebacker for a 2026 round pick in Lee. And, now they're saying maybe Daniel Jeremiah could be up for the GM position. Maybe and reports are they're looking at him in some capacity in the organization. Another guy from NFL Network, another draft guru. There's talk out there now that today that I saw that they want Peyton Manning for the job of GM there for the Jets. And it's just a bad situation, and that team doesn't matter how much talent they have. They're in a division that's run well by Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots. Christopher Johnson is not running a well team. He does not have a good GM in place. He does not have a good vice president of football operations in place. It flows downhill. And where Robert Kraft, may have his personal issues outside of the team, what he's done with the Patriots is solid and continues to do for the Patriots has been solid. Now, are there cracks in the armor? Are there differences that are starting to take place as this goes along with the Patriots? Yes. Eventually, it's going to come crashing down. Eventually, Tom Brady's skills will diminish. But it's well run. From the top down, everybody knows their job, everybody knows their role, and everybody is executing that. That is not what we're seeing with the Jets. So we'll see what Adam Gase and Christopher Johnson will see if they decide, maybe we don't need a GM. We're going to do it our way. We'll do a little bit of Lakers-esque. We're not going to have a president of basketball operations. We're just going to have people who have been around basketball, who have opinions, run the team, who want the best. Come on. They deserve better. The players deserve better. The fans deserve more. I mean, who's signing up to be part of these ownership groups? The Lakers, the Jets. Who wants to root for these teams that they're putting together? That they're demolishing, that they're ruining. It starts at the top. The teams with the most success have successful people, have the people who know what they're doing at the top down. They excel at their role. They don't try and step outside of that role to be somebody else or do something else. And that's what makes them successful. Now, a whole bunch of teams are hoping they're going to be successful in the NBA. The draft lottery took place this week, so we now know what the teams are going to be. We know the order of the picks. We know the draft lottery or the draft combine that the NBA does is going on. We don't know what's going on with Zion. We do know that somehow the Pelicans, with a 6% chance to have the number one pick in a lottery system, ended up with the first pick. We know the Lakers ended up with the fourth pick. We know the Grizzlies are at the second pick. The Knicks are at the third pick. But why is that? The lottery is ridiculous. It needs to go. Every year, just about, we hear about how it's fixed. It's fixed. It's fixed. So now the Pelicans get it this year. Will Anthony Davis stay because the Pelicans have basically the rights to Zion Smith at this point with that first pick? Well, does Zion even leave Duke? He hasn't signed with an agent yet. He could decide, you know what? I really don't want to be picked by the Pelicans. I'm willing to play college again. I like playing with Duke. I like playing with Coach K. It's not all about the money, no matter what everybody else has been saying about me, about my $100 million shoe contract, about my $30 or $40 million guaranteed in my rookie deal. It's not about that for me. I'm a baller. I like to play the game. I like to be on the court. I like to be with the guys. So he could sit there and weigh that all out. And we heard this week that he had a nice meeting with the Pelicans and it went well. And he feels like that could be a team where he could start his career. Keyword, start his career, not finish his career, not have his career, but start his career was part of that statement that came out this week. And I say let the kid choose. If he wants to go back to Duke, we should applaud his decision. Not break it down and tell him how wrong and how crazy it is because he's leaving money on the table. And what if he gets hurt again? And what if the shoe blows out or he hurts his knee or blah, 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 blah. No. Let these kids be kids. Let the purity of sport be what it is. Stop trying to corrupt everything with money. It's already intertwined with everything on the professional level. Intertwined with everything at the collegiate level. So if Zion chooses not to sign with an agent, he chooses to go back to Duke, great. If he chooses to get himself an agent and he becomes the first overall pick and he goes out and balls and he's great in the NBA and he's making money, great. But that's not for us to decide. That's for him to decide. And again, the draft lottery needs to go. I'm not going to say the Knicks tanked. I'm not going to say they didn't go out there and play their best. They had some wins against top teams, against better teams. But the team with the worst record gets the first pick. If you have tanking in the NBA, it's because they're trying to increase their odds at getting the first pick because they know that just being bad does not help you get better in the NBA. Because of the draft lottery, because of the thing that is specific to just the NBA, because they are the only sport who has a draft lottery. Now, the team with the worst pick doesn't get the first pick in NHL. I think they have some quirky way with the way they set up their draft, too, now that I think about it. They don't always get the first pick in Major League Baseball because there's so many rounds and those picks are traded up and down and all around. So you don't always have the worst team getting the first pick. But it makes sense. I personally think you're not going to have teams intentionally try and lose games if they know it's a set system. It's like, let's go out and compete every game. Let's go out and do our best and let the chips fall where they may. But we're not trying to increase our odds in any way because we know exactly what the odds are. If you have the worst record, you get the first pick, and so on and so on and so on. And if those picks are traded around and, the Golden State ends up with the first pick because picks are traded, then so be it. But it should be a set system. It should be and seem more fair. You shouldn't have people coming out every season talking about how things are fixed. Now, we're at the end of some seasons. We're at the end of the NBA season. We're at the end of the NHL season. Right now in the NBA playoffs, you've got Milwaukee, who's up 2-0 over Toronto. You've got Golden State, who's up 2-0 over Portland. Portland, I'm sorry, you might get a gentleman's win in this series. You might get to 5 games. Golden State's going to win this. They're going to have more injuries to that team. Steph's going to have to go down. I know KD's not supposed to play the next Game 3 or Game 4, but you're going to have to see Clay go down, Steph go down, Draymond, or 2 of those 3 go down for Portland to really have a real shot in this series. They don't have enough with CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard to get past Golden State. Golden State without Kevin Durant may not be as talented of a team, but they are a better team. They are a different team. They are a more passing team. Toronto gave everything they had in Game 1. They should have gotten Game 1. They fell apart in the fourth quarter. Couldn't make a shot. They end up losing by 8 in Game 1. And then they come out in Game 2. They come out slow. They're not getting much from anybody but Kawhi and Manu in the first quarter. And they get basically blown off the court by a complete team, a team that came out ready to play last night. And the Bucks win 125-103, taking a dominant win. Now I could see the Raptors pushing this to 6. I don't think this series has any chance of going 7, and it very easily could be a sweep. But I could make an argument for the Raptors getting back on track if they're hitting their shots the way they were in Game 1, if they don't go flat. I could make an argument that they're able to get at least 2 games in this series and make it interesting. On the other side, I really don't see how the Blazers can get 2 games against this Warriors team right now. Now, the popular story that's out there right now about this series, the biggest headlines, is that they're doing this without KD. Are they better without KD? Is this going to hurt KD's legacy? How can you be the number 1 player in the world when your team over the last 31 games without you is 30-1? How can you be the best player in the world when your team's winning in the playoffs without you? When people are saying your team is better without you? Now, it's ridiculous. It's crazy, the idea that any team is better without Kevin Durant. Now, that does not mean that the brand of basketball is not better. Because I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, Kevin Durant is just Carmelo Anthony 2.0. He's a better, taller version of Carmelo Anthony. They're both scorers, and yes, they are both ball stoppers. They are both players who need to get their points with the ball going through them. Kevin Durant doesn't have high assist numbers. Can he get assists? Sure. Does he play some defense? More than Carmelo did. Can he get some rebounds? Yeah, and so could Carmelo. Carmelo was a rebounder in the beginning of his career. He became more of just a scorer the more he went on through his career. Especially as the game changed during his career to more of a perimeter game, and then he didn't find himself down low as often, even at 6'9", to get rebounds. But Kevin Durant is a better scorer. But that is the basis of both of those players' games. They are score-first guys needing the ball to go through them. Now, does this hurt KD's legacy? No, it doesn't. Because Golden State is stacked. Nobody thought if they lost one of those guys that they would really fall off all that much, or if at all. So no, this doesn't hurt KD's legacy. It'll be part of his legacy. It'll be like, remember that year that he got the ring and he didn't really play in the playoffs? Remember the next year when he went to that team and took them to the conference finals or to the NBA finals? Do you remember when he joined up with blah, blah, blah after joining up with Golden State? Do you remember the early years? So it's not going to hurt his legacy at all. Can Golden State win without KD? They can win this series. They can make it to the NBA Finals for sure without Kevin Durant seeing the court. Can they get past Milwaukee or Toronto without KD? Toronto, maybe. They could probably outshoot Toronto and get past them without Kevin Durant. Getting past Milwaukee without Kevin Durant, I don't know if they definitely would not be able to do it in less than 6 or 7 games. Milwaukee will push them completely to the limit if they do not have Kevin Durant. They have a real good shot of winning their 3rd straight championship in 4 and 5 years with Kevin Durant. And that's just how it is. Now, is there some destiny that needs to evolve? Do you need some luck sometimes? Well, in the NHL playoffs right now, the way it looks is that there's some destiny involved with this San Jose Sharks team. Every series they have been the beneficiaries of some luck. They had a luck, well, some people say luck 5-minute major in the first round against Vegas that allowed them to come back in Game 7. In that penalty, they score 4. They end up winning that game. Last series against the Avalanche, they have the offsides. It's highly questionable. That helps them go on and win that game, erasing an Avalanche goal. They've now had the hand pass goal against the Blues in this series, which is tied at 2, and we'll be playing Game 5 tomorrow at 3 p.m. in San Jose. And on the other side, Boston has run right through the Hurricanes, swept them out, and they are getting rest, waiting for the NHL finals to start to face either San Jose or St. Louis coming from the West. And I say destiny for the Sharks because when you have things that break your way, like those 3 incidents, like those 3 calls, it just seems like from a sports standpoint, like when you saw the Steelers with Jerome Bettis and the Super Bowls in his hometown of Detroit, and they got certain things just breaking their way, and it's like, okay, this guy's going out on top. This guy's going out with a Super Bowl win. You have to have things like that happen. You have to have big calls, little calls happen to go your way. Luck, destiny, bad calls, what have you. It's happening for San Jose right now. Now, on the opposite side, if the Bruins go on and they win the Stanley Cup as they now wait for San Jose or St. Louis, 3 of the 4 major championships will be held by Boston area teams. The Red Sox are the current Major League Baseball champions. New England Patriots are the current NFL champions. The Celtics are out. They did not win the championship, as we know. They fell apart and were, had all kinds of issues. And then there's the Bruins. So if the Bruins win, 3 out of 4 teams from the Boston area will be the current sitting champions in 3 out of the 4 major sports. That would be a fun storyline. Great for Boston fans. Another damn championship for them up there since the year 2000. But that's why you love sports. That's why the games are played. That's why we sit here and talk about them. That's why we debate. Until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.